So I was just saying how I'm not feeling very articulate this morning, and then in addition to that I said I don't think I feel very articulate in general. And Rohini said that's just your low mood, and I guess I am in a bit of a low mood, and maybe you can explain why I'm in a low mood, or why you think I'm in a low mood.
Well, that's not why you're in a low mood, but I can explain what happened.
Yes, why don't you explain what
But
happened?
it's not the cause of your low mood because
I know that.
because then we'd be saying it's outside in.
Yes, I know that.
So
I guess I'm thinking that this is one of those moments where this doesn't hold any water, that theory.
okay, so it is looking like it's the cause of your low mood. I get it. Okay,
All
I'll
right.
explain. I'll explain.
I'll have my rebuttal.
So it's and I understand. I hear you. I'm struggling with this too. So there's this situation where I did work a few years ago for a company that was based in Colorado, and I live in California, and I did the work here in California, and I pay my taxes in California. And for some reason, the Colorado Department of Revenue thought that I wasn't submitting Colorado tax returns. And they sent me a letter saying I owed a whole bunch of money. And so I sent it over to my accountant, who sent them a letter, sent them my California tax return, and I forgot about it. Then I go to my bank account a few months later and see that around $5,000 has just been taken out of my bank account. And so I call up my bank, and
Our bank account.
Our bank account,
Thank you.
our joint account. And I'm saying, oh, there's been fraud, I need to report it. And they say, oh no, that's been taken out of your account by the Colorado Department of Revenue. And so it's like, oh my goodness. So then I get in touch with them and I explain the situation and I send over all the documentation. And just the other day, I got a letter back from them saying that they are not refunding the money. In fact, they're asking for more money, and now they're asking for money for another year. And so I shared this information with Angus. And that's what he's saying is the cause of his low mood.
And it wasn't just the other day. In fact, it was yesterday morning.
Okay, yesterday morning.
And so this is really interesting for me because, I find myself in situations with clients where, you talk about the inside-out nature of thought, and you talk about taking dominion over your feelings and help them to understand that, what's going on in their outside world is not responsible for how they're feeling inside. And then here is a situation where I'm really feeling impacted by what's happening in my outside world. What was so interesting yesterday is Rohini gave me this information, and my mood really immediately dropped very significantly. So much so that I heard this. She told me this while I was making a cup of coffee or something, and I turned around and knocked a bottle of water on the kitchen. Knocked a bottle of water off on the kitchen counter, and I immediately said, "Who put that there? Why did anyone put that there?" And Rohini was like, "Oh, am I not allowed to put a bottle of water on the kitchen counter?" And it was so interesting because this sort of petulant, childish part of myself was really looking for a way to hang on that feeling, that being in that low mood. I was really looking for a way to express myself, and I kind of really, almost immediately, probably because of Rohini's sense of injustice, allowed me to see how, wow, what am I doing here? I mean, this is obviously she can put a bottle down there. Why am I in such a low mood? So I think what's happened now is that I guess that our mentors have, in the process of helping share this understanding, have explained how if you get a leap in consciousness around this understanding, you will see how certain things start to feel amplified vis-a-vis, the outside and nature of thought. So it was interesting because it was really visible to me at that moment that I was in a low mood, and that information had impacted me, and I immediately wanted to lash out at someone.
But the information didn't impact you. Your thinking, where you went to with your thinking, is what impacted you. Like, that was neutral. What's going on with them is neutral. I'm not saying it's fair, but it's neutral.
What's going on with who is neutral?
The Colorado Department of Revenue.
Yeah, no. I don't know why I gave that impression.
Oh,
I guess
okay.
because I'm being inarticulate.
Well, I just want to make sure we're being clear. Maybe we need to slow it down.
Yeah, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that I got really sped up very quickly, and it was invisible to me because I was just really kind of locked in my cogs and wheels were running on all cylinders, and it was hard to sort of get any kind of perspective. So much so that when some little negative event happened, vis-a-vis me pouring, knocking the bottle of water over, I had a hissy fit. But I can actually feel like I'm kind of sped up now. I'm still struggling with holding that information inside and not reacting from that place.
Well, I think it's really human, and I think it's really important to recognize that, we do get stirred up in our thinking, but if we understand where it's coming from, then we can look in the direction that's going to be supportive to us. So I know for myself that if I thought the problem was the Colorado Department of Revenue in terms of my internal state, I would just keep focusing on that. And what I noticed is that it's such a sensitive subject for me that as soon as I start thinking about it, I start to get more destabilized, I start to get more upset, I start to get more negative. And that doesn't help me do anything about it, doesn't help me take the next action steps. And so I realized that, my internal state is coming from my own negative thoughts about this situation, and that I'm not stable enough right now to really go there. And I know last night you wanted to talk with me about it, and I said I can't talk about it because I'm just going to get really down and negative, and you don't like it when I'm down and negative, and so it's not going to be helpful to talk about it now. And that's what I've seen. It's like I know it's coming from my thinking, but I can't seem to quite, I can't stop that, but I can have that cushion inside of me that knows where the real suffering is coming from, which then allows me to have a little bit more peace around it so that I can then handle the numerous next steps that are going to be required to contest their decision.
Yeah. And I guess at the end of the day, I do know there is some sort of glimmer of wisdom floating around inside my head that is informing me that really all I need to do around this issue of, the Colorado Department of Revenue, whatever we're calling it, that I will stabilize at some point. And from that point, the push towards well-being and to get to some kind of acceptable resolution, I'm sure is there. I'm sure that'll come from being in a settled state. It certainly won't come from being in a state of me being wound up and upset by it. So at least if I can recognize that that's where I'm at in my feeling state, then it's probably not a good time for me to try and solve the issue.
And we don't need to suffer the whole time this is pending. We can have equanimity and peace of mind while this is being worked on.
Yeah.
And we're open to any tips, resources, support around it too.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like I've slowed down a little bit now. But I'm not going to go away and think about Colorado. I'm going to do something that makes me happy.
Good.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yes.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Yeah. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.